Hi, welcome. It's Iona Drozda at Wren House Studio, and I am wanting to share today the second of 4 talks that I give each year for the last, oh my gosh, I guess over 20 years. I've been giving 4-part series at Unity Williamsburg. It's gone through a lot of different locations and even a couple of name changes, but our wonderful, wonderful group of big-hearted and joyful group have been gathering over the years, and I've had the privilege and the honor of being able to share talks that create a bridge between New Thought and Buddhism. I have been a student of New Thought for a very, very long time. That would be Emerson, Thoreau, Emmit Fox, John and Jan Price, Mildred and the Fillmores. I'm sorry, I'm not grabbing the name right off the top of my head, but so many individuals over the many, many decades have helped us expand our consciousness by thinking about how to be more natural in the world and more kind and more connected to one another, and to recognize that there's a larger self and that we can be connected to that larger self called the God self, called the God Goddess self, called infinite creative intelligence, called the mastermind. There's so many different names for the unnameable, right? And so as a student of this way of thinking, this expanded way of thinking, learning to expand our way of thinking, I was then led in 1995, I felt the need to travel to a place where I might learn something even more about the basis of this thinking, which is peaceful, loving kindness. And peaceful, loving kindness truly appeals to me, to my heart and to my soul, and to my work in the world as a creative. So I got ready to go to Tibet, and I began to prepare for the journey. And in doing so, I was doing quite a bit of journaling, which is natural for me to do. And I noticed one day when I was journaling, I got interrupted, and when I came back to my entry, I noticed that I was talking about traveling to a place on the planet that was endangered. And of course, true that, because communist-controlled Tibet has not been free to be its peaceful, loving, kind self for a very, very long time. As long as my lifetime, the country has been under communist rule. So I was going there, and I was traveling by myself. I was going to meet up with a very small group, 9 of us. We're going to meet up in Bangkok and then fly into Tibet, first Nepal and then Tibet. Well, that's a whole story in and of itself. But the journal entry really, it was like one of those aha moments for me that I'm using as a preface today to lead into the idea of bridging the bridge that is between New Thought and Buddhism. And so in my journal, I saw that I was going to a country that was in danger. And yet, when I looked at the word written in my journal, I'll show you how it was written. It was written like this into my journal, in danger. And when I went to read it, after some time had passed, what I saw was end anger. And it stopped me. You might have known that. You might have seen that 100 million times. Every time you look at the word in danger, maybe you see end anger. But for me, it was a new awareness that we need only look at how the planet is endangered to also recognize the opportunity to end anger. So I went to Tibet. It was a very dangerous place to be. It was really extraordinarily wonderful that I had that. What came for me was with these 2 words coming together, endangered and anger. So I created a little mantra. We are each and all in danger until we end anger. And that doesn't mean we don't feel anger. Of course we do, and we need to. When things aren't right, it ires us, it gets us riled up. So what I've come to share is that anger is a passion, it's a fire, it's an ember, it's something that we can ignite to launch our creativity, to really engage what we are angry about as a way to enrich and enliven our creativity. In other words, pay attention to where the anger is and express creatively through that channel. And there's many, many ways that can be demonstrated. And the way I want to demonstrate it is through what I've learned as a student of Tibetan Buddhism. In Tibetan Buddhism, constantly, story after story, practice after practice, initiation after initiation, we're taught to open our heart and our mind to ways to care for all living beings, from the bugs to the birds to the babies and to our own precious human life. There's wonderful, wonderful stories in Tibetan Buddhism that illustrate how difficult it is to be a human being, or how hard it is to be a living being, and how it supports us, each and every one, when we can recognize the suffering and then send the suffering loving kindness. And if the suffering creates anger, to engage that anger as a way to take action and express through our creativity. So today, in this little chat, I want to share a wonderful teaching called the Four Immeasurables. And it goes like this. May All-Mother Sentient Beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment, free from aversion. How gorgeous is that? May all Mother Sentient Beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment, free from aversion. Looks like that could be some good medicine in our world anytime, but how about today? How about right now? How about we consider the possibility of being a mother sentient being? No matter what kind of body we are in, we are the mother of ourself, right? May all Mother Sentient Beings, boundless as the sky. There's a limitless quality. And it's a really, really beautiful opportunity to consider how in the world, at this time in the world, when we're kind of looking at everything being in this place of endangerment, how about if we just imagined, for what I like to say in all of my courses and in all of my connections with my groups and my classes, is that how about for just 15 minutes a day, we attempt to recognize that we are a mother sentient being. You are, I am, we are, everyone is. In Tibetan Buddhism, we're taught that everyone we meet was once our mother. It's pretty cool and very difficult to comprehend. But we have a whole lifetime to gain insight and awareness into what in the world does that mean. And when our Buddhist teachers came from Tibet and began to move around the world, and when they came to the West, they began to learn that a lot of people living in the West don't really like their mothers or didn't have a good experience with their mother. And so they began to broaden the concept of mother sentient beings to, what do you love? Can you love your cat, they would ask? Can you love your child? If you can't love your mother, can you imagine being the mother of other opportunities to share loving kindness? So they began to get more fluid and more expansive and more open, which is what we're being offered an opportunity to do these days. Seems to be, wouldn't hurt, right? Would do no harm. To consider being a mother sentient being to self, to the others that life places in front of us, to the animals, to the birds, to the insects. I keep wandering around my gardens here and at my retreat farm. I keep wandering around looking for the pollinators. It breaks my heart. I'm not seeing any pollinators so far this spring, except for the teeniest, tiniest little guys, little tiny little bees. Maybe they'll come. Maybe they'll be all over the place soon, my hope is. But I send love out for all mother sentient beings, all the bees, all the butterflies, all the bunnies, all the baby birds. Just send love out. There's many, many Tibetan practices. And one of the Tibetan practices that I want to share today that really correlates beautifully with may all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment, free from aversion. And that practice is called Tonglen. Tongleng, Tonglen. Tonglen, Tonglen, is an exercise and a practice, again, a loving kindness exercise and a loving kindness practice of an exchange of energy. So that if I see or sense or feel suffering, either in front of me or in the newspaper or on the television or in a conversation with somebody, if I hear a story, what I want to do in this practice is I want to send and receive. What I want to do is I want to send lightness of being to the suffering. And then what I want to do is I want to breathe in the darkness of the suffering. It's very powerful to consider that quality of exchange of energy, right? I mean, we try to run away. There's an aversion to suffering and the causes of suffering. But in this practice, we're brave. We have courage. We have heart. We open our heart and we go, I see that suffering. So what we do is we send something that we feel would be a gift that would lighten the load for the individual or the animal or the insect or the bird that happens to be suffering. If we're thinking about an individual, we might send them some flowers, just our thoughts. We imagine sending a bouquet of flowers to somebody who's having a difficult day. And oh my goodness, what a glorious thing if we actually know of somebody who's having a difficult day and we just spontaneously send them some flowers. I'm thinking of you. I care about you. I see you. Here are some beautiful flowers. Or a book, or a poem, or an idea, or an inspiration. I mean, it's endless what we can send. And then we have the courage, the heart. The word courage, the root of the word courage is to have heart. We have the heart to open and breathe in the darkness. What in Tibetan Buddhism we visualize as the dark smoke of the sorrow. And what it becomes is an exchange of the sorrowful joy and the joyful sorrow. It's so much a part of the experience of being in the world anytime, throughout time. There's a sorrowful joy and the joyful sorrow. It all gets kind of mixed up and mushed up together, and that's okay, because they're both very much a part of being in the world. We don't want to isolate or insulate ourselves from the suffering. That's Buddhism 101. We know that all living beings simply want to be happy. So that's my little chat for right now. I wanted to do this in this month of honoring mothers, and my normal talk would have been a couple of weeks ago for this time of year. And I'll be back again in September and then in November for my last 2 talks in this series this year for the bridge between New Thought, New Thinking, and Tibetan Buddhism, Buddhism itself. And I look forward to hearing your comments and seeing you back again in the next time I give one of these little 15-minute talks. I send you much love, much Tonglen, and much metta. Take good care.